Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this week's webinar. My name is Michael Cavone. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer of Deepblocks, and I appreciate you taking the time to join us this week as we scan various markets and show you how to do site selection at scale for industrial development plays. We're going to really kind of get more into how we increase that speed to site selection for our clients, and as well as how we kind of reduce those upfront costs and feasibility fees, allowing you to use Deepblocks to scan thousands and thousands of parcels and refine your search to just a handful of parcels. Select that parcel, then you go into our Explorer interface and optimize the most profitable development play on that particular parcel with our doing feasibility studies with the Explorer interface, our 3D modeler, the 1-year back of the envelope return on cost financial analysis. So again, we just want to kind of show you the robust capabilities of Deepblocks, how we can, again, scan various cities and find those opportunities for industrial development. A couple of cities we're going to focus in on today is Seattle, Washington. We're seeing some strong trends in industrial real estate growth. Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and if we have time, we'll jump into Los Angeles as well as New York City. But our main focus will be Seattle, Washington, and Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Again, before we get started, we're going to give a few more minutes to let some more people join us. If you have any questions throughout the webinar, please feel free to use the chat to ask your questions. At the end of the webinar, you can reach out to me at michael@deepblocks.com if you have any other questions or you want to possibly set up a one-on-one demo. I'm going to share my screen. We're kind of going to jump into the site a bit, just to kind of, again, always go through some of the key areas of our website. It's a very resourceful tool. Here you'll see first our cities that we're currently in. We're currently in 43 cities with zoning data. I just always like to remind everyone, Deepblocks is the software, it's a SaaS product. We basically are converging zoning data, market data, demographic data, construction costs into one interface, allowing you to, again, go increase your speed to site selection. Upon finding those sites, you can then go into the Explorer interface and do feasibility studies. 3D, it kind of creates a 3D model and massing, so you can then enter in assumptions and kind of mold your 3D model and, again, try to optimize that parcel and truly figure out what is the best and most optimal development play on these particular parcels. One of our key components, again, is zoning data. We are the leader in digitizing zoning data throughout the country. We're going to be rolling out another 57 cities with zoning data this month. So it's very exciting that we're continuing to expand our cities with zoning. And as I mentioned, we also have parcel level data in our 1,000+ cities. So, and we're also going to be updating that information as we continue to expand and grow. Additionally, we have our webinars page where you can see previous webinars. We have our tutorials page, 60-second clips showing you the key functionalities and uses of Deepblocks. And then lastly, we have our pricing. Currently, we're at $18,000 per year. That pricing is going to be going up as we roll out those new cities up to $36,000. However, you still can get in now at $18,000. You can be grandfathered into that price, and you'll be grandfathered into that price for life at the $18,000. Our software is only going to get more and more expensive as we continue to add more cities, add more data sets, implement more functionality. So this is, again, a very good time to be grandfathered in at the $18,000 per year. So if you have any questions throughout, please feel free to jump in and ask me. We're going to get started shortly, and we're going to jump in again. As I mentioned, today's main focus, we're going to scan various markets, focusing in on Seattle, Washington, Fort Lauderdale, and if we have some time, Los Angeles, looking for those industrial development plays. Industrial right now is an extremely hot real estate market, tremendous amount going on with the supply chain. So there's a lot of room for growth and room for opportunity with finding development, industrial development parcels. So with that being said, we're going to jump in. This is my dashboard. We're going to jump into that search engine, and we're going to start with Seattle, Washington. And just to give you a nice quick overview, I'm using Google Chrome at the moment. I like to zoom out at 80% to really give you a full and capture as many parcels as possible, as well as really get a true understanding of the particular market you're studying. The bigger your screen, the more you can capture on your screen. But again, we always advise using Google Chrome with our product. So just to kind of get started, I'm going to jump into this grid view. What we're going to do is we're going to zoom out and we're going to get a real macro level view and kind of get and start kind of gauge the marketplace in Seattle, Washington. And one of the key map layers we always like to, again, advise our users activate or enable is our buildable area ratio. With this layer, you really get a true understanding of inventory and growth, or really understand the pockets of density in a particular city. Again, that hot red will really give you a good understanding of where we're seeing growth potential within a city. And then kind of that next level, deep orange, will start to see the next level of opportunities. But my main focus is going to be in that deep red, and we're going to kind of start to zoom in on that particular area. Before we kind of get into the next level of analysis, some of the additional layers I always like to activate, especially for an industrial development, we're going to kind of look at median income just to get an understanding of the median income throughout Seattle. You'll notice we have in this particular area that I saw that that buildable area ratio in that deep red. We're looking at 81,000 here, 70,000. So relatively solid median incomes in this area. Let's kind of get the good idea of employment percentages as well. Looking at 68%, 76%. Here's a little bit lower of employment. So I don't know, we might want to focus in on a little bit higher employment percentages to for a potential development play of industrial. We can also look at population just to see the population in the surrounding areas as well. Considering we're looking at industrial, another thing I want to kind of turn on is industrial rates. We'll get into that shortly as I continue to zoom in, and we're now kind of activate the parcels. And once we get zoomed in close enough, you'll start to see the blue lines appear, as you can see on my screen. And now all the parcels will now appear in Seattle, Washington. And as I mentioned, my main focus was that buildable area ratio and that deep red. So we're kind of looking in this part of Seattle. So one of the first things I like to do is I'm going to enter in, or actually like to enable first lot size. We're going to make it up to 1.5 million. And the reason I'm doing this, I want to see how many parts. We're looking right now at 5,000 parcels on my viewport. And now we're going to start refining my search. So in Seattle, again, based on each municipality, kind of differentiate industrial across different cities. So for Seattle, I'm going to be looking for general and heavy manufacturing. So we're going to look for all general and heavy manufacturing uses. So basically anything that appears in our results is zoned for general and heavy manufacturing, that type of industrial play. So right now we just went from 5,000 parcels down to 670 parcels. And I'm going to continue to zoom in a bit and kind of focus in again on these areas where I saw those pockets of interest. And additionally, we're going to kind of, another key element I want to turn on in criteria is buildable area. So I want to look for something where I can do 200,000 square feet up to 300,000 square feet and see how many results we now come up with. And now we're looking at 29 parcels. So we're really refining our search as we continue to look for this industrial opportunity. Keep in mind with Deepblocks, you can export out your results to a CSV file. So anytime you see a certain amount of parcels matching, anywhere from the 5,000 down to 29 to just a handful, you can export those files out. You'll receive about all the listings, address information, along with 15 additional columns of information tied to those particular parcels. So it's a very powerful resource for you to build out your search. Some other fields I'm going to continue to activate into the map layers. I want to kind of get an idea of industrial rates. So basically, this is going to show you dollar per square foot that we're seeing. Basically, we're taking an aggregate of listing data throughout the country, but then we apply our machine learning to these values to really bring a strong baseline of dollar per square foot. So we're looking at $19.33 in this particular area, $19.38 dollar per square foot. So again, in this particular part, we're getting a nice strong dollar per square foot based on those industrial rates. We can also activate our road types just to get an idea of the road systems throughout this part of Seattle. Again, just to kind of show you and understand how everything is represented. We do have a map legend. So anything in the map layers is highlighted in the map legend where you can see how that data is sourced and how that data is represented. So again, for the road types, I'll just scroll down to it. We'll show you the legend. You'll see the red is the principal interstate. So this is interstate highway. It just gives you a good idea of the type of road types in a particular, which is pretty key for industrial. So we understand the traffic inflow and outflow of a particular site. So going back to my search engine, again, I'm going to continue to zoom in a little bit more. And start to focus in a bit more on this particular area and look for a specific opportunity. Now, considering this in this particular city, we do not have the existing building slider. Now that slider normally comes up in most of our cities, but some cities we do not have it. It just depends on the information we're extracting from the municipality. So in those cases, I like to turn on the satellite layer. The satellite layer is another way of really getting a good understanding of what you're seeing and to just really, again, identify a particular parcel to see if there's something on that parcel, maybe an old existing building, or maybe even a parking lot, or it is vacant land, so that you can start to work on developing this industrial place. So I'm going to kind of start scrolling around to see if I can find a particular industrial play. Again, we're looking at all general and heavy manufacturing, buildable area between 200 and 300,000. And just trying to see, all right, we may have something right here. This looks like a parking lot, so this could be a potential good industrial development play. So I'm going to select this one, and now we'll get our property info, and we can kind of go through and see what the zoning limits are. We'll get some property information here. And our zoning information says it's unlimited for building height for non-residential use. There's no parking requirements, which is very good. And then we get a breakdown of the different uses. So perfect, as I mentioned, we're looking for that all general and heavy manufacturing. So this could be a perfect location for a possible industrial play. So again, what we'd like to do with the software is, again, quickly identify these particular parcels, and then we go into the preliminary underwriting and start to optimize that parcel to see the true potential. And we're going to look at the financial analysis. We'll kind of mold that 3D model and see if this particular property makes sense for this industrial play. So you'll see our 3D model is automatically built. So with this taking into account and pre-populating assumptions based on some market values, and we're going to kind of quickly go through how we can define a building, adjust these assumptions, and start to truly optimize it to get this return on cost at a reasonable number that would make sense. And again, the whole concept here is we want to go through from speed to site selection and feasibility studies and truly say to ourselves and assess, does this property make sense for potential development, especially for industrial development? And right now we're looking at 6.49 ROC. That's a solid number. But let's pull up that property info once again, just to kind of get an idea of what we're looking at here. Lot size, 11,000 square feet. We got a buildable area of up to 233,000. FAR 6 base, 21 max. Again, as I mentioned, there's no building height criteria. So we really do have some flexibility here in terms of building this out. So let's kind of map this out a bit. One thing I want to put in is maybe a couple of setbacks just to get and again, there's no setback requirements listed at the moment. There's no parking by use listed. However, we can just show you that we can uniquely identify setbacks for a particular building. We can also draw in using our tools. We can do floor plans within each floor of our particular model that we're working on. But again, we can uniquely identify, we'll make this the primary. Since it's on Union Street, this is going to be our rear. We'll leave these two as B. We're going to exit our setback mode. So that primary is going to give a little bit of a setback of 5 feet. We're going to do 10 on the side. And we're going to do 5 in the rear. Now, our next thing we can kind of go into is our industrial and adjust the assumptions a bit. So I'm going to reduce the net leasable down to about 200,000. So actually just enter that in. I'm looking for about 200,000 square feet. I'm going to actually go back and adjust these setbacks a little bit. Make this a 5 foot right there. Do 80% lot coverage. And again, you'll notice our FAR right now is 18, but according to this, we have a 21 max. So we're within that range of 6 base and that 21 max. I kind of want to bring down the size of the building a bit. So again, I'm going to work on some other areas of this. Just again, you can also work on industrial income. Right now, we have this is again pulling in a sub-market value of this particular area of Seattle. We're looking at $19.33. I'm going to say we can maybe get 22, which will help our ROC at 7.46. But again, I want to kind of reduce the size of this overall. So I'm going to actually, since there's no setbacks in place, we're going to make this 0. I'm going to leave actually 5 in the front, and we're going to leave the rear at 5 as well. We can reduce the ground floor height to 10. And we start to work in, again, right now, that net leasable is at 200,000. Maybe I have to bring it down a little bit more just to bring down the size of this building a bit. But again, we don't necessarily have to. It's just something I'm trying to evaluate for myself. We can also go into the cost side of this, and we can adjust the property purchase price. If we feel we can get a better deal, we could also work on the hard cost. Right now we're at $135 a square foot. Maybe I can get it for 130. And again, that'll help that ROC. So just it could be a potential good site in Seattle for an industrial play. Yeah, as we look at the building, let's see, we can actually turn on existing buildings to see if there's anything around. And zoom out a bit. Looks like there are some buildings around there. But again, this is a vacant parking lot. So just to give you a nice little visual to really understand what we're looking at here. And again, after kind of going through the analysis and entering these assumptions on the income and cost side, we can kind of look at back of the envelope. We can look at the breakdown of the assumptions from the property, the building, the economics, and the project costs. And lastly, we could export this out to a nice PDF report. You can enter in who it's from, who it's going to. We can write a little summary about this particular property, upload your own image of this particular parcel, upload your logo, and change the company, the color palette to show your company colors, just to show you the report real quickly. So again, nice 4 pages, great reports to share with your colleagues, investors, partners, whoever it may be, because you can go through and show. Let me actually get a little bit better picture of the building here. What you can do is you can go through various iterations of this particular property. If it's maybe adjust the cost side of it a little bit more, the income side, maybe you want to add another type of use if the zoning allows for it, if you want to add office, retail, whatever it may be. And again, you can copy these projects, you can share these projects if you have multiple licenses. And again, you can then share these PDF reports. You'll see that here's that cover page, and then we kind of go into the property info, zoning summary, and stacking plan of the particular parcel. You'll see those demographic trends, which I will highlight in a moment. We're going to go back to that market scanner. I'll kind of show you where these are coming from. And then lastly, we get your financial analysis, that 1-year return on cost. So just to kind of jump back for a second, when you're kind of analyzing a particular area, you're looking for, as I mentioned, we're looking for manufacturing, and you see the various parcels, and you kind of start really zooming in on a particular area. So we were focused in on this particular parcel right here. We have our demographic trends, which is right now we're pulling census data from 2010 to 2018. We actually have it through 2020, so we'll be uploading that 2020 data soon. So we'll really have a nice stretch of trending data. But you can really quickly monitor a particular census tract. So we're looking at census tract 81. We'll see a nice incline in population, a slight decline in recent years, but overall nice incline. We can look at the employment per population. Again, we can turn off the other census tract, and you'll see, you'll compare against the United States average over these last 8 years. And the same thing here, we can turn this off, look at median gross rent, but again, and also look at median household income. So these are just nice key trending figures to really understand and analyze a particular market, and just get a good idea of the trends that we're seeing for a particular area. And this is for the census tracts in Seattle at the moment. So again, that just kind of gives you or highlights and shows you the various parcels that are coming up. And again, we just quickly, if you want to kind of search some more, you can go back to Market Scanner, and you'll see that we have our results still highlighted based on our criteria. And you can quickly start scanning the market a bit more. You can, again, just quickly move around the city and look for more opportunities that are within your criteria. So we can kind of go up here a little bit. Again, you can always zoom back out, get a little more of a higher level understanding. You know, you can turn again these map layers back on. So the whole concept here is just to quickly show you how you can, as I mentioned, go through a market. Again, the great part about using Deepblocks is that you can, your ability to scale for your company is right here at your fingertips. We allow you to scale without having to necessarily go visit the city or necessarily hire additional consultants or professionals. You can get a really good understanding of a market and city with our software. And then as you feel comfortable with the city and you really feel you found a handful of parcels, you can then kind of find off-market deals and bring them to your team and then kind of start putting your resources into these particular properties as you kind of go through the analysis without, again, so the whole concept is really to maximize your time. There's another good parcel we're looking at, and this is sitting on Lenora Street. Again, right in that kind of that hotbed of that pocket of interest. So I actually did develop this one earlier today. You'll see, and I'll show you quickly. And that is right here. We have another nice industrial play here in the middle of Seattle, Washington. We're looking at 6.41% return on cost. Just to give you a nice little idea, again, this was a parking lot that I had found in this part of Seattle, Washington. So again, another possible development play for industrial. This gives me a little bit, more reasonable way of doing the gross buildable for this industrial play. I can actually maybe bring it down a little bit to 200,000. So it's a little bit not as big of a building as the other one. So we'll look at 203,000 right now. Yeah, you can kind of play with it a bit more to get however you want. And that's the whole concept, just to be able to easily shape these buildings, kind of play with it. I mean, it's just a very interactive piece of software, very intuitive piece of software. And again, you can start adjusting these, your industrial income. We could work on the project cost, as I mentioned. This area in this particular submarket rates at 129, maybe I can get it for 120. And you'll see that ROC immediately jump up. So there we go. We go through two different scenarios, two different particular properties in Seattle, and then we can now go through these iterations. We can export those out to PDF. So this now we're going to jump into another market. Let's go into Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Again, we're seeing some strong industrial real estate growth there as well. And just this again, this kind of just demonstrates the power of Deepblocks. Right now, as I mentioned, we're in 43 cities with zoning. We'll be in over 100 cities with zoning data in the coming weeks. We're just only going to continue to scale out. We continue to add more map layers and data sets as well. So it's just we'll bring in more and more information, converging it all into one place to really intensify and allow you to scale and allow you to develop your company and really broaden your horizons and find those opportunities. I mean, we're working on predictive analytical models as well, so to show future inventory growth in various cities. So just there's a tremendous amount of potential. It's a great time to be a part of Deepblocks as we continue to build out our platform. But again, so looking at Fort Lauderdale, Florida, again, we're going to quickly zoom out. We're going to turn on that buildable area ratio again, and just again, we're going to want to get that idea of where we're seeing pockets of interest, where we're seeing the density at. Again, we're always looking at a deep red. So we're going to focus in. Let's actually focus here right off 595. So we got a major route right there. We can start to zoom back in. Again, we can turn on some of these layers and just to get an idea of, again, median income. Look at a little bit of a lower income area. So maybe bring some job growth there. We got a little bit lower population between these two different census tracts. We can see what the employment rates are. So a decent employment rate here, a little bit lower here. So maybe we can boost up some of the employment here by offering some industrial jobs in this particular area. So again, we'll start to kind of continue to zoom in here. And again, as you start to zoom in, we'll start to see the parcels up here. Once those blue outlines appear, you know that your market scanner will be activated. And as I mentioned, we're going to be looking for industrial plays. Again, for Fort Lauderdale, the way they have them lined up is, again, under manufacturing. So we're going to look for manufacturing. We're actually going to do light manufacturing as well. And you'll see that we're looking at 143 parcels in this particular area. But just, I'm going to zoom back out for 1 second just to give you an idea of how many, again, parcels we are looking at total. We got 2,900 in my particular viewport. So, and as I mentioned, by just entering in the uses allowed of manufacturing and light manufacturing, we quickly dropped down to just only 143 parcels. So again, we went from over 2,000 just down to 143. As I mentioned, we could export this out to a CSV. Now, another cool little feature, this does have the existing building area square footage slider. So we can now look for vacant land. I'm going to put zeros in both inputs, and we can now find some vacant land. We're looking at not only 21 parcels. So really kind of refining that search. See if we can find a buildable area. Perfect. 200 right in between my what I'm looking for. So we have one parcel matching. See if I can find that parcel. It's probably hiding underneath one of my menus. Let's see where it is. As I continue to Just trying to find where that parcel might be. Sometimes the parcels appear behind the menu, so we just kind of move the screen a little bit. There it is right in front of me. Now we can kind of zoom in. Here's that parcel, nice corner lot. So let's jump over to the industrial tab. Let's look at the industrial rates. We're looking at $17.47 a square foot, solid a dollar per square foot. See the road types. All right, again, like I mentioned, we can go to the map legend just to get an understanding of the road types in this off this particular parcel. We got looks like we have a major collector and a minor arterial, I believe, or actually a principal other. So some decent road types that we have access to. And again, a nice corner lot, which sometimes proves to be very worthy for an industrial play. I'm actually going to let's now look at the demographic trends as well to kind of get an idea of this particular corner lot. We're looking at 4302. So we'll turn the other ones off. Again, nice strong incline in population. Let's look at this employment per population. That's on the rise. So that's a nice little sign. Let's see what kind of income we're looking at in this area to see if there's some growth, and there is. Again, some nice median household income growth. So again, this looks like a solid potential property to develop on. Let's take it to the next step. We're going to select that parcel. We'll get our property info here, kind of get that legal address, some building information. We'll get that market value, as well as we actually have a sales history here as well. And these are pieces of information we're going to continue to add upon and make sure these are consistent throughout all our cities that we offer. Try to bring in more sales comparables, tax information, just as much as we possibly can to really help give you everything you need to make the right decision about and really understand and assess a particular property. Again, there's a lot of stuff we already have in motion, and just a matter of applying our resources that we continue to grow our team to implement and add to our software. And now we see our zoning limits, our building height, got a parking by use. Let's see if we have our uses breakdown. This is going to fall underneath. Let's see, we're looking at storage facilities. We can do all. So this basically shows you the specific uses allowed as well as the general. So again, as I mentioned, we're kind of looking for that industrial breakdown, and we can see you got supply store. So make sure we can kind of still do that manufacturing. We got professional office, and we can do warehouses as well. So I believe we should be good in terms of using this and developing it for an industrial play. Can we even probably do an industrial mixed use of industrial and office, which I'll show you shortly. We also have some setbacks for this particular property. So we can now go into that preliminary underwriting, and we're actually doing a little mixed use of industrial and office. And again, now the 3D model is being created. And again, once again, we're computing using our some market rates and creating this 3D massing or 3D model and massing. So now you'll see we have that office and industrial on the bottom. And what we can do is we can start to work this model, enter in our assumptions. But again, we can look at the different, so we got current uses, approved commercial industrial property, including multifamily with 10 units or more. So that's that current use. We actually could even throw some residential on this if we wanted. But let's first start with, as I mentioned, the so we have use allowed. There's a light manufacturing, as I mentioned. We can also do some services and office. So we don't have parking for industrial, but we do have for office. It's one space per 250 square feet. So we can go into our assumptions. We can quickly input that for the parking. So it's going to be 4. So it automatically comes in that gray underneath. We can now also look at our setbacks to see what they are for the property. We have 5 in the front, 5 secondary. None on the side, none on the rear. So what we're going to do is we're going to uniquely identify these setbacks again, as I showed in the previous example. So we got to focus in on that front. Let's see, we're going to adjust this and this. That'll be A. And our secondary front, we'll leave these as B. And then we can exit that setback mode. Let's put in those setbacks they mentioned, 5 feet. All right. Let's see. I'm gonna kind of create a little bit of a unique tower on top. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. On the 8th floor, we can actually put some additional setbacks in and kind of start to make a unique building of sorts. And actually, let's make that on the, I'm sorry, we're gonna go into the 9th floor and do that. So you can quickly remove them. Again, this is just kind of demonstrating how you can easily modify the building, work on it, and again, trying to maximize that space and again, overall try to work that ROC as high as you possibly can, but in the same token, give a certain look to the building that you might want to present it. And again, we can start adjusting some of the usable area. So maybe we're going to reduce the office a little bit so we can bring this building size down a bit. And there we go. And kind of get that. That's good enough. And adjust the industrial a bit, kind of get the industrial all on one floor. There we go. Perfect. Oops. There we go. So now we have the industrial on one floor, the office on its own floors, and adjust the office a little bit more to kind of reduce that parking a bit. I'm just trying to get everything settled on their own floors. There we go. It's good enough. I'm going to go back to those setbacks. And again, because the building came down in size, we're going to now go into that 5th floor and put in a little bit of a tower. And then we could go to the 6th floor and make these 15. And gotta remove the 9th floor ones. There we go. Perfect. There we go. So just take a little bit of a unique design. And now we can kind of start playing with the assumptions a bit, try to work this ROC up a notch so we can, again, work on that leasing income right now. This, again, that's the sub-market value, 26.79. Maybe we can get 30. We can work on the industrial a bit, maybe get 20 out of this one. You know, again, as I mentioned, kind of play with the numbers a little bit, work on the cost side of it as well. We can maybe adjust the soft cost to 12%. Maybe on the hard cost, we can do 153 for our office, and maybe we can do 100 for industrial again. So just, again, the ways of just working these numbers and try to optimize this particular parcel. Again, and you can kind of go to that, look at the return analysis, export that out to PDF. And now we just go through another particular parcel in a completely different city on the East Coast. So we just, today just kind of showing you the breadth of and how we can scale with Deepblocks. I mean, we went from Seattle, Washington, again, refined our results from thousands and thousands of parcels just to a handful, went through 2 different iterations of our properties on different parcels to kind of see which one made more sense for the industrial play. And shortly after, just jumped over to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, similar concept. We're able to find vacant land, pump in some more criteria, and again, find exactly one parcel that met all our criteria and seems like a possibly good fit and good potential development play. Again, this has a mixed use opportunity of office and industrial. So this just goes to show you and demonstrate within 30 minutes, we kind of go through a series of quick steps to find these opportunities. And this sometimes can take weeks or months, the old way of doing it. With the software, we're doing it in a matter of minutes and finding these off-market deals that we can start to present to our brokers or whoever our network, whoever we may be working with to get these deals moving. And again, the concept here with Deepblocks is to increase that speed to site selection, as well as reducing those upfront costs and fees for those feasibility studies. I mean, some of those studies can cost thousands and thousands of dollars for each time you do just one iteration. So it starts to add up. With Deepblocks, you're doing it, with your team, with in-house, just for the cost of the subscription, which saves you a tremendous amount of money. So we're saving you time and money with Deepblocks. So again, I really do appreciate your time for going through these different scenarios with industrial development. I mean, next week we're going to kind of explore more of how to use that product from A to Z, really kind of hone in maybe on just one market, really go through in depth on some of the site selection, or even more so jump into this Explore interface that we're looking now and really go into the details of creating different models, entering different assumptions, looking at their various iterations of particular projects. But again, I do appreciate you joining us this week. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out at michael@deepblocks.com, and look forward to seeing you next week. Take care.